Hey, Redion, it's Ned Talks. We're recording again, and we're going to do a video today on writing, basically goals and mindset. And what are your thoughts, just right off the bat, on goals and mindset? How important are they to getting started, and where you're at, and the progress you've made?
I would say having a goal, a single goal, is the most important thing. And this is not only with real estate or in business or anything. This is in life in general. You got to have at least one goal, right? And then break that up into like many little goals, and then you have a bunch of other goals to reach
Yeah.
that major goal, and then you just need a roadmap to that.
So, are you more of a fan of like the Grant Cardone, like go big or go home, or are you more of a how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Like what kind of method do you fall into?
Well, I think I, I do a little bit of both, right? So you definitely need that big elephant, right? You need that in the horizon. Like you need to know that it's there. Like you need to see it every day, right? That super crazy moonshot goal, whatever they call them, right?
Yeah.
But then in order for you to reach that goal, right, you gotta eat the elephant like bite by bite, right? So you got to break that down into much smaller goals, where each of those smaller goals that you've like extrapolated out of that big goal are very achievable. And then you stack them up in order, and then you go after them. This is literally what I do for example, for the real estate, right? So, for example, I have just a document, a list of things, and at the end of this list is what I want to achieve, right? It's that for now it's a 10,000 a month passive, or let's say just profit of from real estate. And then I've broken this down. Whenever I think of something that I would need to do, right? I just pick where in the order of these of this list I need to insert this task. Then I just put that in the order where it belongs. And if you go to the top goal is like get apartment 2 ready for me to move in, right? And
Gotcha.
it's like a super achievable goal. But if you look all the way to the end, it's the for me what is a big goal, which is a 10,000 passive income, right? So I say you got to have both. You got to have that big goal, and then you got to break it down into small chunks to for achievable.
You got me thinking of, you ever been to either like a church or a charity where they draw like a giant thermometer on the wall with the big circle on the bottom going up, and they have like the goal, and then they have like percentages on the way there?
Yeah.
And then every time you get close, you just kind of go with the marker and you fill it in as you get closer to the top of the thermometer. And in my mind, your list is basically that.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. I mean, the list sometimes gets bigger instead of getting smaller because there's like new things that come up, and then I add one, I take one out. But I just every day I look at it, I look at the bottom just to be clear what the end goal is. And then I go to the top, and then I do, okay, what do I got to do today? Do this, 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 and then,
Oh, wow. So this really is like a daily exercise where you open up and go, okay, where am I at? And you kind of go through and organize your
absolutely.
mind
So
and
I,
your,
I
okay.
work with I work with my browser tabs, right? First, I look at the calendar, what I have for today,
Oh, I've
and then
seen your browser tabs. They scare me. There was like a bunch of little
yeah,
itty bitty all the way across, like
there's a bunch.
200
Yeah.
of them.
We should actually do a video of that one day,
Yeah.
showing our browsers. But yeah, so I have my calendar first. I look at the calendar, see what I got to do for the day, and then next I check my emails, clear that out, and then I look at this list that we're talking about, and then I take from this list and I either schedule in the calendar or I do them right now, and just schedule them throughout the day and the week, and it's pretty much it, and it moves along.
So how foundational was that, like, for you in the beginning? Did it start out like, hey, I'm going to do this, you laid out the framework and boom, you're ready to go, and that's just what you've been doing? Or is this something that slowly snowballed into your daily process?
Yeah, this is a like slowly snowballed into the process. So I had the goal, the 10,000 a month goal. It's I would say like it doesn't come from anything. It's just like a round number,
Yeah.
10K, right? And it's something that seems achievable, but it's also it's pretty hard to do with real estate, right? You need a few properties. You need to manage. It's not as easy as it sounds, right? So I had that, and I determined that, and then throughout my days, throughout my weeks, I developed this list, right? Okay, what do I got to do before that? Well, I need 10 properties, let's say, right? And then what do I got to do before that? Well, I need one. And then what do I got to do before that? Well, I need a pre-approval letter. And then before that, right? So you break it down into like the smallest thing possible, and then just creating the list as I go, right?
You're reminding me a lot of and I know I've referenced him before on the channel, but Alex Ramosi has a
Mhm.
channel. I think it's just called Alex Ramosi,
Yep.
and I don't know what interview it was, but they were asking him how he got started and how he suddenly felt it was or what made him feel qualified to give advice or to even start his business. And the way he thought about it was, well, there's the truth, and then there's your current state of where you want to be and who you want to
Mhm.
become.
Yep.
And so your goal is who you want to become, and only thing you can do is every single day do a small thing where you put a penny on your side of the scale.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
even if you don't believe in your heart that that's where you're going, and that you and you don't identify, let's say in this example, as a real estate investor yet. So right now you're just you, but you're not the real estate investor. But if every day for a week you wake up and you look at properties, or you try and figure out what rents are in your area, or you try and just figure out what neighborhood might work, each
Yep.
of those efforts is a
It's an
penny on
extra
the
penny,
scale.
right? Yep.
And at
You're a
some
penny
point
closer.
there's so much evidence that you are an investor that even if you don't own a property yet, you've got 10,000 more pennies on your scale than your neighbor who just knows how
Yep.
much his mom's house sold for.
Yeah, yeah, exactly how it works. And sometimes these pennies that this metaphor that you're using, you can keep adding these pennies, right? And then at some point, you're probably gonna have reached that end goal, and you're not even gonna realize because
Yeah,
that end goal might have probably changed, right? Like
yeah.
for 10K a month, it's probably gonna be maybe a different number, or it might be like 50 properties. It might not even be a dollar amount, right? So keep adding those pennies, and then look at the end goal. And that way you're on your way.
So for me, you're right. I guess I in the beginning didn't really view it as the pennies metaphor. Let's keep going with that.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, I didn't even realize that that's what I was doing until I think it was like, I want to say about 4.5, 5 years in. I got a phone call from an uncle of mine, and he starts asking me questions about mortgage structure, how to lay out, well, why want the bank, and he's
Hmm.
all these questions, and I just start rattling out answers because I knew the answer to every single question, but I wasn't really thinking. I was like doing something else, and he's like, "What are you doing?" Or "Do you have a computer?" I was like, "No, I just because I've been through this," and because he was trying to get a value that didn't make any sense, and I was like, "Well, they're not going to value it like that because." You're talking about the underwriting and the evaluation per square foot basis for how they do single family, and you're trying to apply it to multifamily. And I'm going through all this stuff, and in the back of my mind I started realizing, hey, he called me because he views me as enough of an expert opinion and voice and knowledge basis to where I was the phone call.
Yep.
When did that happen? But in my head, like, I couldn't go back and pick the point that that
Yeah.
transition happened. I just know that for the first however many years, people were just kind of like, this is a phase.
Yeah.
You're not going to go through with it.
Mhm.
And I was always frustrated because I didn't have enough pennies on the scale. Yeah,
Yep. Same thing happened to me.
yeah,
My cousin, I'm his go-to real estate consultant now. He just
mhm,
calls me, he just sends me properties. And that was, I say that as a joke, right? Because I'm nowhere near a real estate investing consultant, but he just, he calls me, he sends me properties. He's like, oh, what should I do this? What do you think of this? And then another friend of mine, he was looking to buy a property with his parents, just not even an investment where they live in. And he had no idea what like I was asking him, "Are you closed yet?" He's like, "Yeah, we just did the appraisal, so yeah, we're finished." No, 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 you don't understand, because closing is when you're actually closed, when you close on the property. So he was so new that he didn't
yeah.
doesn't even know that even though you have an accepted offer, you're nowhere near owning this property, right? So he's calling me and asking me about advice on how
Yeah.
his parents, and I didn't know when I became the guy to ask these questions to, but yeah, here I am.
Well, what's interesting and what's been interesting for me, and I'm sure you've got a similar experience, is I feel like the more questions I get asked, because suddenly now I'm let's just say in whoever's perspective, I would be viewed as an expert. I'm certainly don't feel like one, because
Mhm.
the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know.
Yep, same.
But I feel like I it accelerates my learning exponentially when people start asking me questions, because I'll start seeing
Of course.
holes in what I should know. So I'm like, oh, I don't, how do I not know that? And suddenly I'm going and doing research, I'm picking up a book, and then I read a book, and then that book shows me even more holes in it. So, the pile of things I
Yep.
need to read just keeps growing.
Yeah, I mean, teaching is the best learning, you know?
Yeah. So what was, do you have any immediate examples that you can think of, like a simple question? I mean, obviously you just gave one where, um, have you ever
Yeah,
had
the
like a
most
light
simplest
bulb go
thing.
off and like I should know that, but I don't?
I have one actually, and I don't think I fully know it. So everyone is gonna see like how much I don't know right now. But
We're learning. It's fine.
wife, yeah, my wife asked me how how the interest works on an amortized loan, right?
Hmm.
So, and then I was trying to explain to her that it's not like a credit card, it's actually amortized. So I was kind of answering her question with the word that was in the question, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just amortized. Oh, it's not like a credit card, it's just amortized. So then and then I had to go on my desk and be like, what actually happens? Like, I don't even know how this works, right? And then I did some research and I have an idea of how it works, right? It's for each year, it's you're paying the interest, and then the principal goes down a little bit, and then I'm sorry, the interest the interest amount goes down a little bit, the principal that you pay goes up a little bit, and then each year, it gets paid off until after 30 years. But I didn't know it was like that. I had no idea. I
Yeah.
just thought, oh yeah, this is
The,
amortized. It's not
the,
like
yeah. The formula is way more complicated than you would imagine. So I think
Mhm.
it's, let's just say it's spread over 360 payments of 30 years.
Yep.
And then they're not like you've got different amounts of interest versus different amounts of principal that are paid. And
Mhm.
the first, I think the rule of thumb realtors typically say is the first 7 or so years you're typically paying like mostly interest, so you're not
Yeah,
really
it's all interest, yeah.
you're not really putting a dent
Mhm.
in the actual balance until you're probably 10 or 10 or more years into the deal,
Mhm.
which is why banks love it when you refinance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But banks, yeah, banks get all the money when it comes to amortized loans. But yeah, unless you do like a like bi-weekly payment or something like that, which ends
Mhm.
up being that you pay an make an extra payment a month. I'm sorry, extra payments a year, which
Yeah.
lowers the interest that you pay overall towards the life of the loan a little bit, but it's still,
Isn't it like 3.5 years it removes or something like that just by paying an extra? I can't remember what the actual
I think it's a little more. I think it's like 6.5, maybe
six and a
7 years,
half.
which is I think it's definitely worth it for someone that owns their single family home and that's where they're living in.
Yeah, because you're giving
I think
less
it
each
makes
month
sense for
for
sure.
the interest to accrue.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and this is just coming to me, but the way that you kind of fell into categorizing and building out
Mhm.
your goal stack, we'll
Yep.
call it. Do you think that's rooted in goal setting and management of writing programs and doing software? Did you get that kind of from work? Is that similar to how you set goals? And
Yep. However, I'll take it back a little bit more. It's not from work. It's just the way my brain works, right? There's just my personality. I'm kind of like I like math. When I
yeah,
was in school, that was my thing. When teachers used to tell me write a story or something like that, I hated that. Like,
yeah,
what do I write a story about? Like, it's I need like analytical stuff. Like, I need correct answers, right? Either yes or no. So I think that got me into programming as well. So it's not the other way around. So
mm,
because I have this type of personality, then I got into programming and writing software, and then again getting into writing goals and trying to achieve things this way. So I think it's just the way that I am, like it's just the way that my personality is. But for someone that's not this way, I guess for someone that's I guess I would call it on the other side of the brain. What is that? The left side, right side? I don't even know what they call it. Like the more
I
creative people,
I've
right?
always heard that, and I don't know if it's true, but it sounds
Yeah,
good. So
yeah. I'm not sure if it's true, but so I wouldn't have any advice for someone that is the more of like the creative type, we'll call it. I don't even know what you call it, but what would you say to someone like that? That's because I'll tell you right now, when there's some people that if you tell them what I've been doing, they'll think I'm crazy, right? It's like, oh,
oh
you can't
yeah,
live like
yeah.
that, etc.
So
So
I
yeah,
I'm a little weird. I'm kind of in the middle. But I'm also kind of a nerd. So for me, I started relating it to almost like achievements in a video game.
yeah, yeah,
You know, hey, here are all the little missions you've got to go do, your side quests and all that stuff. But you've got your main plot, your main thing you're trying to do. Hey, I've got to go save the princess. But in this case,
yep,
we're trying to find financial freedom
yep.
or or retirement or whatever your financial goal is. Um, and so for me, it was how do I go collect? So for me, the skills was kind of like I know a lot of people when they're playing a video game will go and they'll do you ever see that South Park episode on World of Warcraft? In the beginning, they figure out you can level up by like hunting rabbits or something like that.
Oh, like side quests, right?
Yeah, and so what Karkman and his friends do is they go off in this little forest on the side and they like hunt little rabbits, and they do all this like menial, very easy stuff until they're so leveled up that the rest of the game is easy.
hmm And then they just
Uh,
stop playing, right? They don't want to play it.
I can't remember, but in my mind, that's kind of like how I went about preparing myself for going through real estate. I was a
Okay.
little ridiculous in a different way than you. Whenever I don't understand something, and I do this in the office too, if there's like a problem in oil and gas, or let's say I need to know something about geology or finance or accounting, I'll go to Barnes and Noble and I'll buy
Mhm.
like 10 or 20 books, and
No,
then I'll
I
just
do the
read,
same thing. I do
and
the
then I'll
same
just
thing.
read them in like 2 or 3 weeks,
Hmm
which is super overkill because
Oh yeah.
but
I'm like that in work as well, right? If there's something that I'm trying to solve, I can solve it real quick with
yeah.
program. Not to get like too technical, but I like on the side, I want to go deep in there and be like, why am I solving it this way? Like, why does this work? And I go into like a tangent of reading documentation of software, and then before you know it, I'm
Yeah, it's
like two
it's
hours in.
very I think Elon Musk calls it first principles. How do you boil stuff down to its core foundational knowledge that makes everything above it work? So 1 plus 1 is 2.
Mhm.
Okay, sure. Why?
Why? Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And so I did the same thing in real estate. It was like, okay, well, if I buy a property and then I get paid the rent, then these things happen. And I kept saying why. If you look at any question, you ask yourself why. I think it's 6 or 7 times.
Yeah, you're
There's
gonna go back to the
you're
end, right?
you're going to find the core foundational
Yeah.
reason of the structure as to literally why that works. And I've found that if I want to understand something and grow personally, I need to keep asking why until I get to the point to where you really can't dive deeper.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
So
similar for you.
yeah, I definitely have done this, and I still do it. And this is not only in real estate, but I do this in every aspect of my life. So, for example, it is a little bit extreme on my end, I would say, because like my parents and my wife and even like friends will tell me, "Oh, that's why you think like that," you know. But the way that I do it, the way that I think of it, I don't think of it as first principles. Uh, I say this is the caveman thinking, right? I think of it like, oh, what would a caveman do? So, for example, let's see. Let's get an example. Diet, right? Okay. Should I have this packaged thing from the store? Well, no. What would a caveman do, right? If he was like in this forest and he was naked and he just had his family there and nothing else around, like how would he eat, right? What would he eat, right? And
Yeah.
then so I think of it like that, but for every aspect of my life. Now it doesn't always work out because obviously, like I live in civilization, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna what others do, but that's my way of doing things with like first principles, if that makes any sense at all.
You just try to boil it down to the simplest level you can and then say, all right, well, if that's true, these are the steps I need to take to get from here to here.
Yep.
And I think that the most important part about this process for anybody that I've noticed, because I've worked with some younger investors in my market, and it's, hey, well, what if it's the wrong thing? And it's it's like, well, if it's the wrong thing, that's fine because at least you decided to make a decision and move in a direction. Whereas if you hadn't made any decision at all, you wouldn't even know you were making the wrong decision because you wouldn't have made any
Yeah.
progress.
Yep.
So making the wrong progress in a lot of cases, as long as you're not making huge decisions like going out and being rash and saying, "Oh, I just need to own a property," and buying something without really doing the legwork to be
Yeah. Yeah.
qualified or know that it is a good deal.
Mhm.
As long as you're making the wrong decisions, as long as you reassess and go back and look at it, you can find out, oh, okay, well, yeah, that was wrong, but now I know a more right decision. Because you're never gonna be
Yep.
perfect, but you're gonna get a little more right each time.
Yeah.
And
You have one less thing to be wrong about, right?
and I
So
think people need to be comfortable with that, with being wrong. It's okay to be wrong because it's just a clue.
yeah.
Another
Yeah.
clue is getting you closer to being right. So
Yeah, like we said in another video, I think I was saying like no action is worse than bad action, right? I think that's something
yeah,
that definitely have to live by. So if you're not taking action, it's worse than if you take action and it comes out wrong. So
and then I think I went into that TED talk or whatever it was on babies trying to learn to talk.
yeah,
But anyway, that you'll have to watch our other videos to find that story. We're not going to go into it again. Everybody have a good day. It was good talking with you, Radion. Everybody go and subscribe and give us a like if you enjoy the content, or a comment if there's other topics you'd like us to talk about. Go give Radion a follow over at Landlord Odyssey. One
Odyssey.
Odyssey. Yes.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.